My parents told me I was too old to run the company I built from nothing, too wrinkled to be the face of the brand I had poured my heart and soul into. I remember sitting there, stunned, as they pushed a stack of papers toward me. The very people who had once been my biggest supporters were now looking me in the eyes and telling me that my time was up. No matter how hard I tried to hide it, I felt my throat tighten, my hands tremble as I picked up the pen. They were offering me a fraction of the equity I had earned, practically pushing me out of the very dream I had worked decades to build. The room was silent except for the scratching of the pen as I signed away everything. I looked up, smiled faintly, and wished them success. Inside, I felt like something had been ripped out of me. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the city skyline. I should have been furious, but I wasn't. Not yet. The anger would come later, like a fire slowly growing hotter. Right then, I just felt empty. I thought about all the nights I had stayed up late perfecting campaigns, the sacrifices I had made to get the agency off the ground, the weekends I had missed with friends because I believed so much in building something meaningful. And now, I was being replaced because I didn't look young enough. Wrinkles, they had said, like I was some worn-out relic. I could hear their voices in my head. We need a younger image. This industry moves fast. It's nothing personal, but it was personal. A month later, they found out just how wrong they were to underestimate me. You see, while they were busy plotting my removal, I had been paying attention. I knew every client by name, every employee's strengths and weaknesses, and every competitor waiting in the shadows for an opportunity. I had built relationships that went beyond contracts. They were friendships, trust forged through late-night calls and last-minute fixes that saved million-dollar deals. When word got out that I was no longer with the agency, clients started calling me directly, asking what happened, if I was okay, and, most importantly, what I planned to do next. At first, I told them I was taking some time off. And I was. But I wasn't resting. I was planning. Quietly, methodically, I began assembling a small team of people I trusted, people who had been with me since the early days and who had seen the writing on the wall. They were tired of the new leadership's arrogance, of the way my parents strutted around as if they had single-handedly built the empire. I poured everything into creating something new, something sharper, something that felt like me again. I rented a modest office space, nothing fancy, just enough to get started. My first few days there were lonely, but there was a fire burning in me that hadn't been there in years. For the first time, I wasn't trying to please anyone else. I wasn't following trends or trying to fit into an image someone else decided was marketable. I was building something that mattered to me. Clients noticed that authenticity. Slowly, one by one, they started jumping ship. The same people who had been applauded by my parents for their loyalty were calling me, saying, "We want to work with you again. You understood us." It wasn't long before my parents' company started to feel the sting. They had bet everything on appearances, on trying to look trendy and youthful, but they had forgotten the one thing that really mattered: relationships. Clients didn't care about wrinkles. They cared about results. And I had been delivering results for years. Their shiny new image wasn't enough to hold onto those relationships. The cracks began to show. Campaigns fell flat. Deadlines were missed. Employees grew restless under the weight of poor leadership. Decisions. Meanwhile, my small agency was thriving. We moved fast, stayed creative, and actually listened to the clients. Within 6 months, I had secured several high-profile accounts, clients who had once been the backbone of my parents' company. It wasn't just business. It was personal vindication. I remember sitting in my office one night, looking at the numbers, realizing we were outperforming them. That was the first time I allowed myself to feel satisfaction. The day everything truly came full circle, I was at a client's headquarters for a meeting. One of my former employees, now working for me again, pulled me aside and said, "Did you hear? They're selling." I blinked, unsure I'd heard right. "Selling the company?" I asked. She nodded. "They're drowning. Couldn't keep up. They're taking offers." I didn't say a word, but my mind was racing. In the weeks that followed, I quietly put together a bid. It wasn't easy. It took every connection I'd built, every ounce of financial creativity I had. But when the dust settled, I held the keys to the company I had started so many years ago. The same one I'd been pushed out of. I walked back into that office, now as the owner, and saw the stunned looks on their faces. My parents, who had once told me I was too old, too irrelevant, were now speechless. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My presence was enough. I simply told them, "You were right. The industry does move fast. But some things never change, like loyalty. And with that, I turned and walked away, ready to rebuild everything they had nearly destroyed. Looking back now, I realize that getting kicked out was the best thing that ever happened to me. It lit a fire I didn't know I had left. It reminded me of why I started in the first place. Revenge wasn't about humiliating them, though I won't lie, their stunned expressions were priceless. It was about proving to myself, and to everyone else, that I was never the problem. They had traded vision for vanity, and it cost them everything. If you've ever been underestimated, pushed aside, or told you weren't good enough, I hope my story reminds you of this: you are stronger than they realize. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't just success. It's reclaiming what's yours and becoming unstoppable in the process. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and share your favorite revenge moment in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, stories where justice isn't just served, it's earned.